going to be working on Ricky B. the Rock and Roll Rat. Just as soon as I can get my camera figured out. Um, so, what we are doing now is we've had a couple ads come up interrupting the story that have been commenting on things Ricky's been doing. And last, he was having to clean the toilets because of his boss, Big Mike. And now we're continuing on, where he makes the comment, or the last thing he had said was that he was going to go dumpster diving for parts for his submarine that he wants to build after work. And then when you come to what we're working on today, I've got like 4 pages, probably just get through 2, maybe we get through 3, but anyways, what happens, of course, is that Ricky gets, quote unquote, sidetracked after work. And yeah, well, we'll see what he's sidetracked with once we start inking. And this little spread's going to get into Ricky's job duties. He is a runner at a recording studio, Big Mike's Rat Trap Studios in Ratsville. So, there's certain, we'll call them hobbies, that tend to happen in those sorts of environments, and Ricky's a big fan of those hobbies. But also as a runner, he's responsible for going and fetching beer and pizza and all that sort of stuff. So we've got a bit of a strange angle of Ricky's face because we're kind of looking up, but I guess his nose turns down so we don't actually see up his nose. Which, yeah, it's probably for the best. You don't really need to see a rat dude's snot. So, anyways, he's got his tongue and he's got his little blotter paper here. Quote, got a little sidetracked after work. Anyways, Ricky is kind of sort of based on a variety of people I used to know from high school, from the music business and whatnot, and just also, when you're developing a character, sometimes they just kind of seem like they want to go in a certain direction and you just kind of run with it. Before I get too far into coloring in his jacket and whatnot, let's do his hair. And of course, he's a rat dude, so he does have big round ears, but we're kind of assuming that from this angle, we're more seeing the hair in front of the ears, so we don't really see it, but and that's how it goes. Oh, and hello, Sweet Killer, and hello, Abu Bakari. I have no idea what you're talking about, Abu Bakar, about Roblox and whatnot. It's not a Roblox channel, nothing against Roblox, it's just not my scene, so I think you might be looking for a different spot if you're looking to chat about Roblox. So, uh, so there we have Ricky. Now, here Ricky is narrating. I'm still a little bit up in the air as to how I'm going to handle the narration, whether I'm going to have boxes or whatnot. I think in a frame like this where Ricky's the only one pictured and it's very clear that's Ricky talking, I think we just kind of leave it. And then it's kind of, if there's a frame where there's others in the picture, we may have to box out the narration, as is kind of typical in graphic novels and comics. This wasn't really something I thought about very much when I was designing my frame layouts, but we don't worry about that too much. And a big glob of ink hit there, but it landed exactly perfectly in the corner of Ricky's lapel, so that was lucky. So we have that. So far, we've got Ricky being quote unquote distracted after work. Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Well, I kind of have a feeling of what that was supposed to represent, but I think we'll just kind of give a bit of a starburst kind of shadowing effect. Is this nib giving me problems already? I have some nibs that are my favorites, like this one, but every so often they decide that they're going to get all cloggy at the very beginning of a stream, which is annoying. Anyways, I'll end up going over with a fatter nib to kind of give a little more depth to the shadows. And there's one of the other distractions that Ricky would have. Nowadays, it seems so kind of quaint to draw an actual joint. I think most people use a vape, right, nowadays, or edibles or whatever, but Ricky's old school. Actually, I mean, years ago, I kind of spent a little bit of time on the fringes of the music scene, like the studio scene in Vancouver, and everybody used to roll joints and whatnot. And I've often wondered now, is that becoming like a lost uh, talent amongst studio runners? Is everybody just hitting the vape now instead of the traditional solutions of getting a copy of one of those big fat Rolling Stone coffee table books, like 500 greatest albums or whatever, and the lowest man on the totem pole would just be sitting there rolling joints on the sofa in the back of the control room all day. Mind you, I guess recording studios themselves are kind of becoming a bit of an anachronism. Sorry, I just got a cord that's a little bit caught on something underneath the desk. So there. Um, but yeah, certainly once weed became legal in Canada, I'm sure some people still roll joints, but it seems mostly what I see wandering, around is vapes. But anyways, yeah, there's some booze that's been spilt as well. Do the old timey cartoon thing of the double X on the label. Let's go fill in some of these corners, and then we're going to go to a bigger nib to darken stuff up and also do the boundary between the two panels. And this skinnier nib, which is wanting to kind of be a little gummed up today, it can go soak in the water for a few minutes. And sometimes that helps it. Got a bit of a, what angle is that better? I think that, it looks a little slightly better. Phone mount is kind of a pain in the butt at times and a little bit hard to predict. Hard to get it to be consistent, but oh well. So, definitely think I need to give my nibs a bath in the ultrasonic cleaner again. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow afternoon. Don't know if that actually helps them or is just kind of a placebo effect for me, but I like to think that it does help declog a little bit. And this is pretty much the only frame on this page that's going to have that black of background. After all, Ricky's getting blacked out, so seems appropriate. I did hear somewhere that the younger generations don't drink nearly as much even as the millennials did, let alone us Gen Zers or the boomers before us. So who knows? I don't think alcohol goes away ever, but be interesting what the trends will be going forward. At some point, would the stories of you know 60s, 70s, 80s rock and roll debauchery kind of be like when my generation would read stories about, oh, in the Victorian era, you would buy cocaine and morphine at your general store or at the chemist's, at the local pharmacy. It was over the counter. You can see that kind of becoming at some point where people don't even really believe that that was ever a thing. Uh, anyways, there you go. Now, of course, I do tend to put a big fat line in between my panels, but in this case, it kind of blends into Ricky's jacket and the background. Um, I might actually put a little bit, yeah, just a little bit of shading on that puddle of booze spilled out of the bottle. So now it's on to Ricky's job duties as the runner. Um, we've got the next page is also more of the same, but we're just going to have like a running gag of all the things that he has to lug in. And Ricky's car, by the way, is supposed to be a 1983 Volkswagen Rabbit. So if you're familiar with what those look like and or how little storage space they have, it's going to become kind of relevant. So here's Ricky and the hat opening up the hatchback. He's got just cases of booze. I'm sure this isn't the most accurate drawing. I actually had an idea for a series of paintings of Ricky getting chased by the cops. So, and then for reference images, it's like, well, you're never going to find anything that's really useful for that online. So, what I actually did was I bought uh, I think it was off of eBay, but I bought a model of like Volkswagen Rabbits, basically just a Volkswagen Golf. Um, but for whatever reason, here in Canada, they called them the Rabbit, and intended to build that. See, he's got his little red flag here. Not that you can tell that it's red. Um, but anyways, I intended to build that model so that I could twist the car around and have different angles of it for drawing, but then I just have not gotten had the time to sit down and build that model. So it's still in the box, unopened. But one of these days, Ricky knows better than to hurt his back with all the booze or to try and get it to all fit on a dolly, so he just went straight for the red wagon. It's kind of a gag I've used a few times in different comics. I think there's a gag in Zommel the Destroyer going back to 2007 where the human character Georgie was having a backyard barbecue, and Zalmo and her boyfriend Wilhelm went to the liquor store a few blocks away, um, and dragged all this booze back on this wagon. So, bit of a running gag. Anyways, of course, with Ricky being a rat, we've got Rat Rona, Heine Rat, Stella Ratwa, Rat Light, and Ratweiser. And then whatever unnamed double X brand is over there. I guess, well, I guess it would be Dos Equis, right? But I'm not going to go too detailed with Ricky at this scale because you can't tell anyways. I will give him his sunglasses. But the idea is he is straining against the weight of that cart, which does not want to move. And then we've got the door of the studio. First of all, with the big sign saying "Go away." And multiple locks, because of course, recording studio is going to have all sorts of expensive stuff in it. I've definitely seen studios where they had like 5 deadbolts on the door, one at the very top that you had to be up on your tippy toes um, to open, and one right down by the ground. They had to almost, crouch down to open and all that sort of stuff. Um, at least they have a ramp, though. That's kind of a nice touch. Not for Ricky's benefit, I'm sure. That would be so that the clients can load in road cases and stuff like that. And then we got our little intercom button. We'll assume it's just kind of an asphalt kind of a ground here. Heine, the 3 barrels of Heine Rat knockoff of Heineken. It's a bit of a tribute to one of my old audio mentors, Bill Kennedy, the great heavy metal producers from the 80s. He's no longer with us, unfortunately. He died, 15 years ago? Not quite. I think 13 years ago, 12 or 13 years ago. But Bill liked Heineken. So just show some crumbling stucco. I'll just kind of put a little, sort of a stippling pattern. Kind of envisioning this as being a bit of a, like a stucco kind of outside. Guess that was kind of the finish on Mushroom Studios in Vancouver. Um, Mind you, Mushroom had windows, and we're not really going to be drawing windows on Rat Trap Studios. Kind of just give an outside wall here. And you may come back afterwards and with the when the other pen is kind of half dry, put a little bit of that kind of a texture on as well as the stippling. Um, I'll kind of make it look a little bit grungy. Usually they want the studios to look kind of nondescript, just like regular, boring, industrial kind of buildings, warehouses or whatnot. Plus, if you have a whole bunch of, just gonna, this would be a probably presumably a steel door, but let's assume that it's got some rust on the bottom. Maybe a few stickers here and there. Assume that one's also a doorknob, not just a deadbolt. Of course, this also has a big sign on the top that says Rat Trap Studios, which would kind of defeat the purpose of having the building look um, kind of defunct. A long, long time ago, I used to do some recording stuff at Vaudeville Studios, which was a small boutique studio. I think now is it called Echo Sound or something? Anyways, it's in Port Coquitlam, in the suburbs of Vancouver. Different owner now than the one it used to have when I went there, but it was actually one of those, the industrial kind of parks where there's different bays and there might be an auto body shop and all this sort of stuff in one, and then the next one might be like manufacturing fireplaces, like fake fireplaces, and one might be the CD pressing plant that I used to get my CDs done at. That was in Langley, but was in a similar one of those sort of places. You might have one place that does like um, rubber stamps for businesses or whatever. Like, so you have all these random sort of small light manufacturing places, and the only way that you knew that you're at Vaudeville was you would go up and there was a very small sticker on the door, right in the middle of the door, like where the O is, and it was, like, the size of a business card, smaller than that, and it just said Vaudeville. It didn't even I don't even know if it said, recording or whatnot, but it would be just enough that if you were go a client going there for the first time, and be like, "Oh, okay, I think I am in the right place." But, anyways. If you go to Warehouse Studios in Vancouver, which is Bryan Adams's place, I mean, if you look at their website, they used to anyways have a photo of the front door, but, all that is it's a solid wall, and it has a very stout metal door on the front with an intercom button. I don't think and I think it has, like, the street address, like, it doesn't say it definitely doesn't say Warehouse Studios or Bryan Adams owns this building or anything like that. It's just, like, a door with a buzzer on it. And then when you go in, then they've got a courtyard and all that sort of stuff. But, yeah, you usually don't wanna draw too much attention to those kind of places, but Big Mike, Ricky's boss, has a huge ego, so I could see Big Mike going like, "Yeah, but I gotta have the sign that says rat trap so you know that this is where the magic happens." Yeah, let's give them some shrubs in the background. Yeah, maybe they got a fence. Yeah, let's assume they got a fence. What kind of fence are they gonna have? I think they're gonna have a chain link. Yeah, I'm gonna draw like a kinda like a panel fence. Like, I could see them having a chain link fence there, but the kind that has, like, the metal strips for privacy going in amongst the chain link. Of course, I gotta remember to reference all this the next time I show Ricky coming out to the door, which is gonna be on the very next, well, it's actually gonna be down here to draw all this stuff again, but whatever. At least the reference is only a few inches above. So there's the fence, and let's assume that there's some barbed wire. And then let's put some, the neighbors probably don't wanna see the unsightly, goings on in this parking lot, so perhaps the neighbors have planted some nice arborvitaes or something to block out the view of these music degenerates, block out the view of Big Mike, getting chased around the parking lot by Mrs. Mike when she finds out how much he's cheating on her. We've already met Mrs. Mike. She's, well, haven't met her, but we have seen Big Mike complaining about her a couple 3 episodes ago. She's a piece of work. Well, she and Big Mike kind of deserve each other. Anyways, got a whole bunch of, Ricky B, short stories that will become, sort of couple short story collections that I'll do illustrations for, and, one of them, ha actually more than one of them has the story of Mike and, her name is Brandy, actually. Mike and Mrs. Mike, getting into screaming fights, running around in circles, in the parking lot here. Yeah, anyways, so we are going to go along to the next. So anyways, there's Ricky bringing in the beer. Now this next one was just a visual that I came up with at some point of Ricky since he's got a tail where he's going and he's picking up. I envision this as being styrofoam boxes full of sushi or or Chinese food or whatever. So rather not just having his hands laden down, but he puts the bags of the takeout containers along his tail. So I mean, rats don't have prehensile tails as far as I know, but perhaps in the cartoon world, they can at least use them for holding up groceries. It's not really that much less likely than a rat becoming um, a recording engineer and opening up his own studio. See, this nib is behaving so much better after a soak, but the thing is, it was soaked the last time I used it too, so I don't know. Whatever. And before I reload that with ink to continue with that nib, I'm going to put in um, the panel boundary. And just add a little extra grunginess to the side of the building here. A little bit of a shadow of Ricky. There. Makes it looks extra dingy. Now back to the thinner nib. And we've got, I don't know how many dozen takeout takeout boxes. Can't remember if I told this story before, but one producer I used to know, uh, if he sent out for sushi, he would basically order 5 boxes of sushi, and that was his own lunch. But he wanted the receipt because he was gonna basically he could pack the food away like crazy, and he was eating so much that he could get away with. He's gonna on his taxes say that it was business lunch that he was also buying for his clients. This was not actually true. The clients were responsible for their own sushi and whatnot. But the weird thing is, he wasn't actually fat. He had a small pot belly, but he was a relatively fit dude, surprisingly enough. I'm trying to sort of show. Remember, the kind of clear plastic bags. They're relatively clear plastic bags, and they would be kind of stretching, so they'd be. You'd think that they were going to burst in the takeout was going to spill down out of them, but they usually seem to hold. But you don't want to show too much detail, right? So, anyways, let's start at the back with some of these are going to be in front of others. So that's another thing I got to kind of take into consideration. Now, in this cartoon, I'm exaggerating the length of Ricky's tail. Like, he's got a long tail, but it would probably be stopping there, not all the way out here. But, just do what works for the joke, right? So, I have a feeling whatever's in this particular takeout container is probably falling out of it into the bag. But, Ricky will get yelled at about that if that's the case. Actually, can see now I drew some that have like the classic Chinese take food box shape and some that have more, the kind of flatter general takeout box shape. So it's entirely possible Ricky has been sent to like two or three different um, restaurants for the dinner and lunch orders. I imagine this would probably be rather uncomfortable to have all that weight on one's tail, but a rat's got to do what a rat's got to do when he's got a miserable boss like Big Mike. And I'll also say, constantly demanding beer and pizza and food and munchies, but never on the same run. I never officially worked as a runner, but I worked for a small indie record label. In theory, I had the title of director of A&R, but that was kind of yeah, that's what the business card said. It wasn't really accurate. Anyways, I did do some AR type work, but anyways, um, one of the things I would do during recording sessions is go out and be the assistant engineer, um, as well as, supervise, be the uh, no fun monster, stopping them from being able to, have strippers come to the studio. So, anyways, all sorts of stories that, yeah, some of the people are dead now. Not enough of them. Um, anyways, um, so I would go and do the runner duties of going to the liquor store and all that, and it was very common that he would ask, "Okay, anything else you guys need me to pick up? Anything else you need me to pick up?" "No, no, 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 we're good." And then you get back half an hour later, and by that point, it's like, "Hey, can you run back out and blah blah blah?" Yes, fine. Oh, I drew that coming way down low. That's okay. We will just just scratch in that my black line needs to go like there. It'd be a little wonky, but Uh, I brought the takeout boxes about an eighth of an inch too far down. Uh, anyways, it's Ricky's fault. He's not holding them up high enough. It's just going to vanish down into the bottom. So we got that bag, and then we got another bag kind of out there where the food might spill out of it. And just scrub in these kind of bushes back there. I think I will go over the edges of the bags with a medium nib just to kind of give them a little weight. And at the fence. Feeling at the rate we're going, we probably will only get through this one spread today and not get a third page, but oh well. Okay, some nice faux wood grain here. Got a bit of glare on Ricky there. But anyways, this one window. You may be able to see up here the blue. That is the underdrawing. It's done with a non-photo blue pencil. So when I scan this in black and white, the blue is supposed to vanish. Or at least enough of it's going to vanish that it won't be a complete nightmare to Photoshop the book. So that's kind of been a typical part of pen and ink cartooning going back I don't know how long, but certainly in the olden days when people would use Xerox machines for comic book reproduction and size reduction and stuff, that was already kind of the norm at that point because they would not pick up on the blue if it was light enough. And I scan in, scan a high resolution in black and white, and that has a similar effect. So two lines, kind of. Ricky being a rat, he does have claws. And they are black claws. I think actual rat claws are probably clear, kind of a whitish tone, but I like drawing Ricky's as being black just because he's a bit of a punk rock dude. He probably also has crud under his nails. These knuckles are going to disappear, but I'm going to draw them anyways. And the joke here about fire rat cinnamon whiskey. Definitely play on fireball. And a bit of thumbing my nose at somebody I used to know who drank a lot of fireball cinnamon whiskey after his band gigs. Crown Royal was also a very popular beverage, as I recall. And of course, the cheaper stuff like Pilsner. And Jack Daniels is kind of a perennial favorite. It's the traditional one. Keith Richards was photographed drinking it, so, you know. Actually, gonna just color those in when I use the fatter nib in a moment. Why spend time, right? Why do a thing twice? Except that I frequently do. But anyways, here, of course, because I'm navigating around Ricky's hands, I gotta be a little more conscientious about that and use a smaller nib. I just realized I didn't put any texture on Ricky's tongue. He's gonna have his little taste buds on, isn't he? Let's uh let's flip this upside down so I can do that. I was gonna put some little dots and bumps and stuff. Kind of looks a little gross, I guess. Actually, why don't we draw him with some drool? If we're making his tongue look kind of gross, maybe he should have a little teeny little bit of drool. Yeah, it's a little better. Or worse, depending on your perspective. Anyways, so now I'm just gonna push this a little further up so I've got some easier access to this bottom versus doing it all the way down here. Um, so Ricky has gone for booze. He has gone for some sort of takeout, Chinese or sushi. He's gone for fire rat cinnamon whiskey. Well, now it's time for the burger run. So we're just gonna remember to draw the studio sign like that. And I can already see wasn't consistent with the edge of the door. So we're gonna do that. Now the sign says no wives. So we got one little deadbolt up there, another deadbolt there. There's the intercom. Doorknob. And another deadbolt down there. And then there's a couple stickers on here that we can't make out. The bottom of the door is a little bit rotted out. And then I got some just general scuffs and whatnot on the door. And the little ramp. So then proportionally, that's like that. That's about 1, 2 1/3 doors. So 1, 2, and that means the building's going to end right about there. So now it's going to be small. It's going to be hard to draw, but first we got some speed lines. And then we got our wheels. Ricky's tail coming all the way out here. Did I forget to give him whiskers over here? I did. Now, of course, it's at a small scale, and the whiskers aren't necessarily going to be hugely visible, but at least want to give some sort of an indication that he's got something on his face. I'll probably tidy that up in Photoshop, and it'll probably print so small it won't even matter. But I do have them here, so. I know not all forklifts have like the tower thingy, but we're going to pretend that this one does. Got the forks there. He's got his palette, which we're not actually going to see much of because I wrote McRatburger a little too low. Here's the really big bag. That's probably the one for Big Mike. And of course, we got to remember we got the shrubs. And then we got the fence. And we've got the barbed wire. And then we've got the neighbor's uh, arborvitae hedge to block out the view of all this crap. Yeah, let's see here. We've got this little area where the stucco's kind of fallen off, and we got a little crack there. Hey, Sean Lynch, how's it going? Sorry, I just saw your message now. I don't know, you might have left it 5 minutes ago because my head was down there, but hello and welcome, and thanks for stopping by. Hope you're doing good. I can see why some YouTubers do like, or live streamers do like the text to speech thing so that you can hear it when something comes in the chat. But on the other hand, I guess it depends what people are putting in the chat. But yeah, I'm live pretty much every night, Monday to Friday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. Uh, the odd exception, like for example, next Thursday, I won't be doing a stream because I have to have some dental work done on Thursday afternoon. So I'm still going to be frozen and miserable and probably not able to talk, because half my face is going to be frozen. Uh, well, by the time of the stream, it might be starting to come out, but I don't know. So, anyways, next Thursday I won't be streaming, but otherwise, generally speaking, if it's Monday through Friday night, there's about a 90% chance that I will be live somewhere between 6:30 p.m. Pacific and 8:30-ish p.m. Let's say 8 o'clock, because sometimes, depending what I'm doing, if I wrap something up at like 8 o'clock and I know the next thing on the list is, such that it would probably take longer than I expected, then, or longer than I would have left. Let's try to get that a little bit. There we go. Then sometimes I'll close the stream out a little early, but I try and do 2 hours, sometimes slightly more. So, probably what I actually need is, instead of having my laptop up there, because when I'm looking down, it's kind of above my head, I might actually at some point experiment with monitoring the chat on like my iPad and have it like right down here. Because then, as I'm looking at my thing, the chat would be kind of in my line of sight. But uh, it's not really space on this desk for that. So we've got one page done. It took an hour and 15 minutes. Anyways, hopefully the next page I think won't be as long. But how many? We only have one view of the studio wall for the next page, so that might go a little faster. But anyways, let us. I'll do the kind of looking over stuff at the end, but this basically continues on. So we got McRatburger, and the next thing, of course, is he's got to bring in pizza. I just got to put this down somewhere where it's not going to smear on anything else. So there. Why did I just put that to the side? I need it as reference. Ah, put that there. Let me put this here, and then in theory, I can see what I'm doing. But yeah, I got to figure out a better ergonomics for my desk so that I can see the chat in a more timely fashion without having to like lift my head. Because I don't like missing messages when people leave them. So yeah, we're gonna have to figure out a better desk layout uh, pretty soon. Anyways, I think the iPad probably is the ultimate solution to that instead of my laptop, just because of size. But anyways, blah blah blah. Now we're starting on the next page. So everything in the middle of the view, I think so. Yeah, because when I'm looking right now, my eyeball is level with my phone, so I can't see the chat on my phone, and I have to like raise my head because where I've got my laptop is basically above the crown of my head when I'm bent down looking at the page. So yeah, I got to figure out some better ergonomics for streaming. I've definitely thought about moving from doing a vertical stream to using OBS. And I think there's a plugin in OBS where you can have both, like the horizontal and the vertical. So it would still be serving up the vertical to the vertical live feed and the shorts feed, but then it would have the horizontal version as well. I don't know if my current laptop, is got enough juice for that in terms of RAM. Have to test it, but also still wouldn't solve the chat problem. So yeah, I gotta figure that out. Uh, Remember that the bottom of the studio door is a little rusted out, and now we got, oh yes, and we've got our two stickers. Here. The message is now changed to groupies welcome. Groupies welcome, but not the wives. The wives are still a no wives message. Someone who shall remain unnamed, who I used to know from the music biz, I once overheard one of his friends ask him how if he used Facebook, and he said, "Hell no, the wife would find out too much about my life if I used Facebook." Oh dear. Anyways, I think the wife knew exactly about his life because as soon as their kid turned 18 and went away to college, apparently I heard rumors that he had to get a new apartment. So, anyways, yeah, not good. Let's have our little bit where the stucco is busted out here. And over into our very not realistically drawn Volkswagen Rabbit. Although I guess actually for reasons of trademark, etc., I think I would actually call this a Ratswagen Rabbit or something like that. Everybody would know exactly what I was talking about, but I don't know. What does the girl on a rabbit look like? I should go look at that model that I have that I haven't built. Anyways, draw Ricky first, and I'll figure out where the edge of the door is. edge of the building is, pardon me. Ricky cannot see where he is going. Let's put a squiggle in each. This would presumably be pizza from the famous Ratzeria Pizzeria. We had an ad for a Ratzeria Pizzeria earlier in the book. And it's a more realistic length of Ricky's tail. It's been drawn very long in the other drawings, but that's kind of what makes it funny. Now, think I said 2.5 or 2 1/3. One, two. So somewhere in the pizza boxes is where that building's going to end. And then is somewhere around here is where the parking lot ends. And I'm just going to draw a line so I pay attention when I'm scribbling. So it goes only that far because after that we've got our next scene of what Ricky's bringing into the studio. And I'm just gonna draw in the shrubs and then the fence. Drawing cars is definitely my weakness. It's something I have no idea what I'm doing unless I have like a photo in front of me that I can uh, really pay close attention to. Something I really should work on because Ricky himself isn't really so much a car guy, but his cousin Darren is. And I know for the Ricky B. Rock and Roll Rat short stories, there will be stuff involving car capers and chases and all that sort of stuff. Where to illustrate them properly, I am going to have to be a little bit better at drawing cars. So something I'll need to practice. Before I go further, I will finish off this. First, we got to have the barbed wire. And then the neighbor's trees. we go. And now back to putting the little speckles onto the stucco of Ricky's job. And once I finish that, then I can put the first page off the desk to dry while I finish the rest. Because, well, it doesn't actually matter because we don't see, at least on this spread, we don't see the outside of Rat Trap Studios again. So, all right, let's get the fatter nib put in our panel boundary. And also, when it's kind of half out of ink, we'll add a little more shading and crud, for lack of a better word, to the side of the building there. Um, Oops, that's a little, oops. More in that ink in there than I thought. Let's blot some out and be very, very light. I think I had debated at some point putting some graffiti on the side of the studio building, but presumably Big Mike would just make Ricky scrub it off anyways. So, there. Next, as we go down the list of the munchies that Ricky is tasked with bringing into the studio, we have munchies. So we've had booze, we've had takeout, we've had whiskey, we've had McRat Burger, um, which is not burger made out of rats. It's, you know, the Ratlin's favorite cheap ass hamburger, their version of McDonald's, basically. And then pizza, and now we have to get, of course, one of your other major food groups, Lay's, nacho chips, Cheezos, crispy cheesies. Ricky has been to their version of Costco by the looks of it, because each of these bags is about as big as his torso, bigger actually. I'm just going to put in a thin line to remind myself of where it goes. I did have on a semi recent page, um, an ad for Rat-O-Lays, but whatever logo I came up with for them for that isn't the same as what these bags would have. It's so I'm not going to worry about it. It's just going to be different logos, and there's going to be the ingredients list. Probably chock full of things that give you cancer, and give you heart palpitations. Like, why is tartrazine? Why is tartrazine in freaking potato chips? It's like it's bad enough that that's in gummy bears. And if you're sensitive to it, like some of us are, tartrazine will absolutely give you heart palpitations. And last time I checked, it's in a surprising amount of potato chip snack products. So yeah, that sucks. These look like giant Cheerios, but they're supposed to be giant, like cheese donut type of snack items with chemical lists in the ingredients. But kind of an inversion of the Olympic logo because this stuff will is not for athletic performance. Now, of course, the real question here is, will I check? Okay, I did. Never mind. Was trying to remember if I had the wagon colored in, and I did. But the real question is here is how many of these crispy cheesy and ultra cheeso and nacho cheese chips are actually in the Rat-O-Lay bags, and how much of that is just that they're pumped full of air to make them look big? line here. Just gonna outline Ricky's tail. Two more frames, two more panels. And we're definitely not getting to a third page tonight, but oh well. And of course, so we've got all the grub. We did have a lot of booze on the other side, but we still need something perhaps less toxic than fire rat cinnamon whiskey to wash all the munchies down with. So that's now going to be our next wagon full. Also going to just quickly draw in that so I don't go too far. Uh, Now in these 2, I could add a background, but I think it kinda helps to also make it starker. Um, Maybe I'm just hitting that lazy point of the night, I don't know. But you can tell Ricky's getting tired because the tail is drooping. Just think maybe I should put some background in. Yeah, I should. I should draw the background, right? Yeah. Yeah, that looks better with the background, I think. So, and it's not taking that long. So, yeah, similarly, just do. After all, it's not necessarily the same angle that we're seeing this from, so the bushes can be a little bit thicker in this one versus the other one, etc. Because it depends which we're closer to, etc. So, I still have a bit left to draw. I'm just gonna take the opportunity to say the streaming schedule for next week is the usual one. Um, I'm I'll be off on the weekend. Monday we will be streaming Ricky's girlfriend's cousin Miles's book, um, Miles Morrow's Pursuit of Happiness. I believe we're up to the U spread, so haven't decided what's going into that yet, but that's what we'll be doing. Tuesday, Noah's Archipelago, the 2027 calendar. Hopefully, I get two pages done out of that. Last week, I only got the March one done. Wednesday, I will be streaming, working on Zommel the Destroyer and cast portraits for the Zommel the Destroyer comic omnibus book that I'm going to be putting together in the next few months. And Thursday, there won't be a stream on next Thursday because I got to have some dental work done. And I'm just going to take the day off with the assumption that I'm going to be feeling like crap afterwards and be frozen and be talking funny. So, and then, of course, we'll be back next Friday for more Ricky. And we'll get to the next couple pages. Uh, Maybe even the next 3 pages. Wouldn't that be nice? But, I think the next couple pages are a little more simple, so I think we will get through 3 pages, no problem, next week. We are making headway. I mean, this is page 21 of the story. It's, page 33 of the book, as there's some front matter and whatnot. And I think the entire book is about 108 pages. And some of the ones in the back third have already been inked, because I'm not going to ink the entire book on stream. I'm just going to ink the first 2/3. So we are making headway. Of course, I need to make headway off camera with finishing the last third, but that's a me problem, not a you problem. So we are making headway, and it's funny because I've been doing these streams, and of course, we're referencing that the main gist of it is, or the driving force of the story is that Ricky hears the voice of God, and Ricky thinks that what God is telling him to do is go to the wreck of the Titanic and get that big shiny rock from the movie in order to impress his girlfriend. Ricky's not a liar. He is a misunderstander, though, so, take it with a grain of salt. He's kind of an unreliable narrator for that reason. But anyways, because I've been talking about submarines and all that sort of stuff on these streams, if you post YouTube videos, you'll be familiar with the YouTube Studio kind of back end, and they actually have a tab called Inspiration, which is like AI slop. Some of it's entertaining though, but suggestions for videos you could make. And there's a whole bunch of them now talking about submarines, and like you could illustrate the steampunk submarine or cyberpunk submarine plans. But the thing is, the AI doesn't know that it's like the character that has it is named Ricky. They have other suggestions where you can tell it just has like a generic suggestion, like this word and this word, and then it just picks up a name that it hears you talk about. So it has other suggestions for Ricky, but every time it talks about submarines, it thinks that my character Noah is the one with the submarine. Just like I have mentioned on my Wednesday stream, Zalmo having a secret basement lab. So, and that's just been the last couple weeks that I've mentioned that on the Zalmo streams. So now I'm getting suggestions about designing blueprints to show Miles's secret underground laboratory. Like, well, you picked up the lab part. You weren't listening for the character name. Miles does not have a secret underground lab. He has an accountancy firm. But anyways, it was funny to read through them, but also I will say some of the suggestions actually like, that actually might be a kind of cool video. be extra and so nothing really fit with any of the projects I'm doing right now, but it's like, yeah, I could totally see maybe I should have some, submarine blueprints and whatnot as, like, bonus material in this book. Although we actually I think in 15 pages, we do actually see Ricky having drawn up some, rudimentary submarine plans, so we will see sort of that, um, coming up, but not the way that was described that the AI, inspiration tab seems to think I should be doing it. Let's move that out of the way, over there, stay, stop falling down. I find if you try and talk to your pages, it sometimes works. Anyways, uh, okay, so we are chugging along. One more illustration, one more panel. So I drew Ricky's ring finger too long in this. We'll just ignore that. Make it a little more proportional. Now I remember always hearing people say if you are the assistant or the intern at a recording studio, do not go pick up anybody's definitely not colas bags because it's not worth getting busted for that. I mean, of course, this stuff is going back 15 years and before the whole decriminalization farce that Canada has been doing recently. But that always was the suggestion. Of course, some others would point out that if you do not go and fetch the definitely not cola, people know that you will not do that, probably inhibit your career growth somewhat to a lot, depending on the band and the situation. But, anyways, it's kind of a different world back then with that stuff. Is that was kind of before the whole fentanyl thing and all that crap really became as common. Um, yeah. I mean, it's kind of something I've kind of noticed the more I think about this story. I wrote this story in the summer of 2023, so 3 years ago, and already at that point, it was like, obviously it's fiction, but also it's fiction about a world that I mean, obviously Ratland doesn't exist, right? Ratsville is fictional, but in terms of the portrayal of the music industry and whatnot, it's kind of parts of it are some things based on things that I witnessed or knew people who were involved with or whatever. And some, uh, but a lot of it already at that point was kind of, you know, things that say Bill Kennedy told me about, back in the 80s, blah, 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 you know, that there was already a bit of a lost world aspect. And even in the last 15 years, like so much of it is, you know, so much of it has changed. I mean, there's definitely a lot more, people recording stuff on home studios that sounds just as good as what's coming out of the commercial studios and whatnot. Yeah. I think you're always gonna have some aspect of the big commercial studios because, Taylor Swift's probably not gonna record a studio in her basement, or the spare bedroom, and, I mean, obviously, some of the big guys like, U2 or whatnot, they have their own private studios, so they may do some stuff at commercial studios, but not nearly as much. Um, but I'm pretty sure Faderhead, is one guy I listen to does, like, goth industrial stuff, and as far as I know, Faderhead and he's been on, like, the German club charts and stuff like that, had big hits and in that genre and all that, but as far as I know, he records at home, and that's more and more common now, so and then, of course, Spotify has changed the economics and, well, Napster beforehand, but, you know. So I'm just trying to figure out because I didn't really finish this drawing off in the underdrawing, so just gonna kind of figure out where Ricky's legs would be coming up. Now, what I'm gonna do is just kind of black out around here because he's not gonna be pulling that out in the parking lot, so we're not gonna see the parking lot. And I don't particularly feel like drawing an SSL board, so we're just going to do a little bit of shading and then get the fat nib and finish it off. All right. I think we is done for the night. Let's have a quick look-see at what we've drawn. So we only got through 2 pages, but they were fairly detailed pages. So I'm just gonna stand up. I've been obviously sitting for a while. So what we left off with last week was actually the intern depot ad, but we had 2 ad pages last week. One for Russian subs, and then there was a story page of Big Mike telling Ricky to clean the toilets, and Ricky doing so and fantasizing about sticking Big Mike's head in the toilet. And the toilets are disgusting. And then we had the ad for Intern Depot last week. So now we come back and continue with the stories. Oh, and Ricky was thinking he was going to go dumpster diving looking for submarine parts after work. So now we pick up with, of course, I got a little sidetracked after work. So we got, substances that Ricky enjoys. And then talking about, because Big Mike was having this client come in, and I realized Ricky's leg in this one is a little too thin. So let's just, I'll just kind of make him just a little bit wider. There, that's a better proportion. Mm, There. I keep saying there like I'm done, but now, okay, now I'm done. Um, Anyways, so Ricky's charged with as the runner. His job is bringing in whatever the clients want and the engineers and whatnot, so they don't have to leave. So he's bringing in beer the first time, takeout, Chinese food, other takeout the next time. Whole barrel of Fire Rat cinnamon whiskey, studio sized. And then he's got his forklift to bring in all the McGrat burger bags that he needs to bring in for lunch that day. And then the page we just finished. His car is loaded up with pizza that he is bringing in for the band and the engineers. And then he's got munchies, Rattley, various cheese chips, and then washing it down with a whole bunch of rat cola, cherry rat cola, Dr. Rat cola, diet rat cola, and then definitely not cola. And then he's explaining that he was out fetching things, didn't have time to think or draw up anything, source any kind of stuff, or figure out what he's going to do about this submarine that he believes God has told him to build. And then another month went by. So then next week, well, depends how much we get done next week. I do believe it's an ad break, though. Because the B story is about these intrusive ads that keep interrupting, and they seem to know what Ricky's telling us about in the narration of the story because they're eavesdropping, right? So we have the B story coming back and coming back and coming back. But, anyways, so I mentioned earlier about next week's streaming schedule. Hope to see y'all then real soon, and I am gonna try and figure out a better layout. I might do like a private stream as a test and see about if I have my iPad right over there or underneath the where I have my laptop stand. Can I see the chat then? Um, while I have my head down and drawing. So, because I don't like missing when somebody leaves a comment in the chat. And I do think Sean had left that comment probably 5 minutes before I saw it and acknowledged it. So, anyways, that's something I gotta work on my ergonomics here. But yeah, so we will see you on Monday for Miles. We will see you next Friday for more Ricky, and then Tuesday, Thursday for Noah's Archipelago, and pardon me, Tuesday next week for Noah's Archipelago. There won't be a Thursday stream next week, like there usually is, and Wednesday for Zomo. And the only other thing I will say is I am moving my weekly wrap ups back to my vlog channel because I think the rhythm likes it better when I just have working videos on here and then talking videos on the other one. I don't know. It shouldn't matter. But There will be a recap video of all the work I've done. I will link it in my posts on this channel, but it'll be on my secondary channel. Anyways, blah, 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 blah. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, thank you for your patience. And we'll see you again real soon. Bye for now, and bye-bye, Ricky.